Hello, thank you for tuning into my channel. It's time to cut up our strip units for our Bargello quilt. So if you want to see how to get to this step of the process, please stay tuned. At this point in the process, I am starting to get very excited. First, I want to thank everybody who is participating in the Heartbeat Bargello Quilt Along. We're seeing a lot of beautiful colors and designs come together, and so I'm really excited and happy to see what's going to come of these quilts. So far, we have chosen our fabric, we've pressed it, and we've made our strip sets. So at this point, let me see where we are. This is what we have. This is my strip set. Right now, let's take just a moment and look at everybody's strip set so far. This is assignment 2 that we're going to see. Those designs all look great. I can't wait to see what they look like when they become the Bargello pattern. Now, as we prepare for this step, we are going to sew these strips into a tube, but we'll get there in just a minute. First, I want to remind you, if you're making the full to queen Bargello quilt, that you are going to need another 1/4 yard to a 1/2 yard of this of your fabric 1, because we're going to use that to create an inner border when we get our quilts done. So I want to make sure that I remind you, and I'm kind of reminding myself too, that I need to go and get another 1/4 yard. Actually, I'll probably get another 1/2 yard of this to finish out the inner border of the quilt. Okay, now to prepare for this step, we're going to need you're going to need your pattern. We're actually on page 6 of the pattern. We just need that chart at the top. So in your pattern, page 6, you also need all of your strip sets, however many you've made. Some of us are making different sizes of the quilt. There are some people who are making a lap quilt. Some of you may be making a twin. I'm going to make the full to queen. So depending on whatever size you're making, that should be the number of strip sets that you have. Okay? Now you're also going to need a way to organize your strip sets by size. So I am using my tried and true shoe boxes, and I just put a label on them just to tell what size they are. So this is going to be for my 1 inch, and I use this since I'm making the full to queen. This is the box that will have the most in it, so I use a pretty big shoe box. But I also have a box labeled with 3 inches, 2.5, 2 inches, and 1.5. So I have 5 storage containers for that. You don't really need anything. I'm going to move around for a second. For your 3-inch strips, especially if you're making like a lap quilt, you only need 4. I'm actually using, this is the box that has all of the leftover fabric that hasn't been cut yet. And I'm just going to put my strips on top of this. Okay, so whatever you're using, if you're using a shoebox like me, or if you have some plastic containers, you just want to keep those sorted by size so that when it's time to create your set, you can you'll have enough to put it together. Okay, or it'll be organized well enough and you can just grab and go. All right, so the other thing that you'll need are your strip sets. The first step for this is going to be to sew them into a tube. This is one that's already been sewn into a tube. So you can see that all of the layers are together. All of the strips, I should say, are together. And when you're doing this, this is the one that I haven't finished yet. You don't want to necessarily sew it end to end. Let me see. like this, because it's going to create some a crease. If you can see that, see how wild that looks, and when you sew it or when you cut it, you won't get straight sets or sections, units. So what you want to do is just make sure that when you bring them together, you get a nice even surface. So this is a nice surface that I like. I think it's good. But when you, like, this is where it started, and it's going to be a little jagged right there. That's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this point and then go sew my my strip set. Just sew it down the side with a 1/4 inch seam, and then you'll just do that for each individual strip set. Make sure that you hold it up, you know, to make sure you have a nice smooth area before you sew it. And each one will be a little different, okay? So that's going to be the first step. I'm going to go sew this 1/4 inch seam down the side, and then I have my strip set that's sewn into a tube right here. This is where I stitched it. I stitched fabric 1 to fabric 14, but I didn't worry about pressing it. I don't think that that's going to matter as much as you go along, because when you're stitching, you'll just sew it, or you'll just finger press to the correct side, okay? I'm going to use my shape cut to cut it, and I also need my, I'm trying not to get in the way of the camera, my pattern. And again, we're on page 6 of the pattern. There was one change if you're making the twin or the full to queen. I said you need 9 3-inch strips. That's not true. You only need 6. Okay? So change that on your pattern, and I will eventually change it on the Etsy site as well. Okay? So to prepare for cutting, I'm going to keep that keep my cutting diagram close by so I know how many to cut from each fabric. But to get started, I'm going to fold this about in half. Okay, I'm using my shape cut ruler to help me with these cuts. You will notice that my selvages over here, they're not even, and that's okay. We can work with this the way it is. It's going to be fine. When it comes time to place my ruler, if you're using a ruler like this, it doesn't take as much time. Can you see? I don't even know if you can see it. But this is my shape cut. I've used this a lot on videos because it has the slots. So if you have the shape cut plus, I think it has the 1/2 inch and the 1/4 inch, but you don't need the 1/4 inch. You only need the 1/2 inch. And so that's why I think the shape cut is the best one for this one. The Shape Cut Pro only cuts 2.5 inch strips, so that one you can't really use it because we're making different widths of the strip unit. So what I'm doing, I'm going to line up this 0 line here, the 0 cutting line, just inside of the selvages, okay? And then I'm taking the 1 inch line and lining it up along the bottom seam line. Since mine has 14 strips, there's like 7 on each side, and so there's about a half, probably about 1.25 inches at the bottom, but it doesn't matter. I'm using the stitch line to line up. If you had like a really good 1/4 inch day, then you'll have a line on the 1 inch, the 3 inch, the 5 inch, and the 7, but I'm not going to stress about that. I'm just really focused on lining up one line. I'm going to make a cut here at the 0. Hopefully my hands won't be in the way. Cut here at the 0. And I'm going to move this to the side. I'm not going to get rid of this when I get done cutting this strip units. I'm going to show you how I do this because this is going to go back into my crumb pile. Now, according to my pattern, I need 6 3-inch cuts. So I'm going to get 4 out of this cut, and then I'll slide the ruler over and get 4 more, or get 2 more cuts. So here's 3 inches, and then 6, 9, and 12. right, so that's 4 of my 3-inch cuts, and I move them kind of to the side like this to make sure there's not anything that I need to cut. And then I'm gonna put these in my 3-inch box. Okay, for now I'm just gonna leave them there, and I'll go over and make my other cuts. I'm just sliding the the fabric over gently. Okay, and then I'll line up the 0 at the cut edge here. Of course, if you feel like you need to make another cut to square off that edge, do that. But I think I'm okay for right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the other 3-inch cuts. So, 1 and 2. So now I have all of my 3-inch cuts. So I'll go to the 2.5-inch cut. And according to my pattern, I'll need 12 of those. So now I have I've cut at 6, and so next I'm going to go to 8.5 to get a 2.5-inch cut. And this way, with the shape cut, you can just leave the ruler down until you get all the way over. So 8.5 plus 2.5, 1, 2.5, the 11-inch. Okay. And at this point, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and take a 1-inch cut because I need gazillion of those. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to wait. I like to make my bigger cuts first. I did go ahead, if you look at my 1-inch box, I've already cut 3 strips, I think, just because I need so many, and I knew I could go ahead and cut those off camera, but I wanted to cut some bigger cuts on camera for you guys. Alright, so I'm going to move the ruler, and I have 2 3-inch here, and so they're going to go in the 3-inch box, and so that's done. After I'm done, I'll mark it off on my pattern so I know that I'm completely done. Alright, and then the 2.5 I'm just going to leave out for now, and then I'll slide this over. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and just make some more cuts off camera until I get probably about 4 inches from the edge of the bottom selvage, because then I want to show you how I deal with that. So I'm going to cut till about right here. You can see it on camera. And then I'll show you what I do for the end of the strip unit. I'm almost at the end of my strip unit, but if you open this out, you'll see that now what was the outside, here's the inside, and it's a little bit, the selvages here are further in than the ones out here. So to not cut into the selvages, I'm just going to flip this part of the strip around and then cut this way. Alright, so it's going to be exactly the same as I started the other strip. I'm still on the 2.5s. Okay, again, I'm going to line up the ruler on this bottom seam line and make my first cut just inside these selvages. And I'll make as many 2.5s as I can get. We'll see what we can get. Right now I have 6 total and I need 12. So we'll see what we can get out of this, and then we'll start another strip set. So 0 line. And I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm cutting 2.5, so I'll go to the 2.5 line and the 5 line and 7.5, so I can actually get 3 out of here. Okay. Alright, so this little smidge, this is going with my dog bed scraps. So my dog bed fabric scraps, that's going in there. And the end of these rows, I actually, since I'm going to use them for crumbs, I'm going to look and see where there's a decent amount of selvage, and then I'm going to cut the rest off. So right here, it's a decent amount, so I'm going to cut here. And then down here, if I may be able to get some out of this bottom part. Alright, so this part, what's left, it's going in with my crumb scraps or with my extra strips, but this goes with the dog bed scraps. All right, so I'll do the same thing here. So I'll cut, see what you can see on camera, cutting here and here, just so we're not wasting the fabric. It can be used for some other stuff. Very cool. All right, so now I have the 3 here. I'm going to cut one more strip set on camera, and then I'll cut the rest off camera. Let me get one more set, and then we'll see what we can get out. I have my ruler set up on my strip set. I still need 3 more of the 2.5 inch, so we'll go ahead and cut those. 2.5. Then 5 and 7.5. All right, so at this point, I'm going to start making the 2 inch. And then you just keep going through each strip set, cutting bigger units first and then smaller until you get everything completed. I'll go ahead and start the 2 inch. So that was 7.5. So next is 9.5. And 11.5. If you're using one of these rulers, just be careful of your fingers because it's easy to get them accidentally caught. If you have a pair of klutz gloves or a pair of gloves that you can wear that'll protect your fingers, that would probably be the best thing if you feel like you need that. And then once you have all of your strip units cut out of your fabric, put them in the boxes and again put it to the side for a little while. I'm going to finish these and I'll come back and show you the completed boxes. So here are my finished cut strip units. It goes from 3, but remember these are on top of scrap fabrics, 2.5, 2 inch, 1.5 inch, and 1 inch. So one thing that you notice is that you really don't need really big bins because the only one that you need a lot of is the 1 inch if you're doing the full to queen. Otherwise, you don't really need bins that are very large. So any little small thing that you have, as long as you can label it, I think it'll be fine. Okay, so after I made all of my strip unit cuts, I actually have this much of a strip unit left. All right, so I was getting some questions about if I messed up one of my strips, will I still have enough? And I think you will. This is how much I had left for the full to queen. I'm not sure about the lap or the crib, okay? But this is how much was left. If you do the twin, this will be the same amount because those are the exact same amount for the inside of the quilt. I am really excited about this. Like I said on my Facebook group, this part I didn't do it like this before. I cut a little few strips and made a couple strip sets and then went ahead and started putting the quilt together. So this is different for me having to do all of one step at once before going to the next step. But at this point, I'm very excited because I know that the next steps will be easy and I won't have to worry about stopping to build a strip set or cut it down into strip units. So it's very cool. I'm going to put this with my 3-inch strips because these other fabrics are going to be used for the borders, okay, and the binding. And it should be enough for all of that, except for, don't forget that extra 1/4 yard to 1/2 yard for the inside border of fabric month, okay? Now for the prize this month. The prize this month is this 5 fat quarter bundle. These are the same fabric, they're just different colors. So at the end of the video, you'll see who won this prize, and I'll be sending it out to you real soon. If you have any questions about the quilt along, please leave them in the comments below. One thing I want to mention, at this point, I'm really concerned if somebody starts with us on the Facebook group that it's going to be kind of a hard time to catch up. By that I mean you won't just be doing one weekend a month like we're doing right now. So at the end of this video, I'm going to go ahead and put our Facebook group private. The YouTube videos will still be public, but the group is going to go private because I think at this point it'll be too challenging for anybody to catch up, and I feel like that will be your only project, and I know we have a lot of other things going on. So if you are interested, join the group while you can. Of course, the pattern will still be available on my Etsy. You can get it anytime, and get started. I'm really excited to see what these quilts are going to look like. Thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Happy quilting. Bye.